I think bad things happen so you can learn something for them.
Bad things happen just to make your skin a little bit thicker for the next level.
For something good to happen, it's gonna have to be something bad that's gonna have to happen.
Life is just a revolving cycle.
Bad things happen to bad people because there's bad people.
I think bad things happen to bad people, actually.
I'm a strong believer in karma and what comes around goes around.
I believe in karma a lot, that if you do something bad, maybe something bad will happen to you.
What comes around goes around.
Bad things happen because people do stupid things, you know? I mean, they make bad decisions.
Because people make bad choices.
Yeah. I think bad things happen because people make bad choices.
Probably their lifestyle.
Because people don't respect one another.
Because people cause them to happen.
Do you believe it is a random act?
No, sometimes it depends. No.
I don't know.
Me either.
Everything happens for a reason.
Sometimes it could be random or something happen for a reason.
I do believe they happen for a reason, but I believe that you bring a lot of stuff upon yourself also.
I believe in destiny. I don't think it's just random. I don't think anything's random.
I don't know. I don't believe in anything. I just believe it just happens.
If everything's planned, I guess it all happens for a reason.
It happens for a reason. You know, everything happens for a reason. That's the way that God makes it.
No, it's their own fault.
If you do something bad will happen to you. I think it's a random act because you never know if something's really gonna happen.
It's a random act.
Stuff just happens, you know? It's all luck of the draw.
Nah, it's a decision.
I think everything happens for a reason.
It's meant to be.
It's God's will.
Does God really will bad things to happen?
Do people deserve the bad things that happen to them?
Because they've done something bad in their life and God or the universe is catching up with them?
As Catholics, we really don't believe in karma. We don't really believe that what goes around comes around.
Even though many times coincidence can make us believe that someone or something is controlling the events in our lives.
What we do believe is that suffering and death entered the world because of sin.
Because of disobedience, evil found an opening to corrupt God's perfect creation.
In a continuing way, we contribute to that reality when by our own free will, we sin individually and communally.
That is not to say that individuals suffer as a result of some bad choice they personally made.
Sometimes it seems this simple. Most times it's very complex. Often it is the most innocent among us who suffer.
Whether we understand it or not, it's always difficult to keep perspective when bad things and suffering occur in our lives.
That's what we'll be talking about today. Keeping perspective when bad things happen. Hi everyone, I'm Elias.
And I'm Caitlin.
And this is Realfaith TV.
Our spotlight guest today is David. He'll share how he helped others keep perspective during difficult times.
We'll talk with him a little later in the show, as well as meet our studio guests.
But first, let's go back to the teens on the street.
They'll share with us some of the bad things they've experienced in their lives.
Let's check it out.
My grandmother got really sick a couple weeks ago, and I went there and I did everything I could to take care of her. She's a diabetic.
I almost came out of one of my classes, but all I had to do was show, proof that I was sick, and then I got out of it.
We were walking up the street and I fell and I tripped and almost busted my face. And I think it's because I was being mean to her earlier.
When I lost my Lexus, that really kind of killed me. Somebody ran a stop sign and hit me.
Yesterday I got robbed for $2,000, and I'm very depressed about it. But you know what it made me realize? That I shouldn't be walking around with that much money.
I'm a runner, and I keep icing my knee because my knee was injured.
A car accident in October. It was really bad. It's probably the saddest time of my life.
Being in the car with friends that are drunk and swerving off the road, hitting a telephone pole. I did it because I didn't want my parents, finding out I was drunk, so I was trying to get home safe. Not safe, but it was just a stupid act on me.
I got mugged and jumped once, and they took everything I had and left me in 3 below weather with a tank top and jeans and socks.
I got in a car accident and broke my neck last year.
My mom left me when I was 3 to do drugs and stuff.
Oh, when my grandmom died, I was sad.
When I lost my cat. Yeah, he had to go away and everything, and I was kind of heartbroken. I'm always gonna miss Smokey.
So I got into a car accident. Some girl rear-ended me, and I had a really nice job at the time. I was making some good money, and I couldn't work for like 2 months. But then I got an even better job, so I don't know. I mean, I was so depressed and I couldn't see my way out of it at that point, but I was just got to look to the next day,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, sometimes when bad things happen, it really is difficult to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I know personally for me, my grandpa was really sick, he had cancer, and he eventually died from it, but throughout the whole experience, he really tried to keep a positive outlook on it.
All right, so I have a question for you guys. Have you ever encountered hardship, and was it difficult to keep your perspective?
I remember 9/11, my mom was a prep teacher at the church, and all the kids in her class were like, you know, how could God let something like this happen to us? And she replied, God has a plan for everyone, and you just have to look to him to overcome like this hardship.
Yeah, and I agree. Like, I don't believe God ever does things to me that are bad. Like, I just put all my faith in him. Every possible bad thing could happen to me. I won't blame him. I'll blame me, or I'll blame something else. And I just trust that God will get me through it because, well, he never gives us anything we can't handle.
My family and I, we had a really hard time. Recently, my stepdad had to get surgery on his foot, like there was a lump in it or something, and he couldn't walk for a while. And they were really scared because they didn't know if it was cancer or what it was. So for me, like, I really had to pray for strength because I felt like I had to be strong for my family because obviously my mom was really crushed by it and my younger siblings didn't really understand it. So I guess that's how I was able to keep perspective going on the fact that I had to be strong for everybody else.
Yeah, my friend, her and her family were going through a hard time because they got in a car crash and they had to go to court and do all this stuff. Well, they lost the case and they had to pay all the lawyer bills and the doctor bills. And she was like very sad. Like she came from school crying that day, and everyone like surrounding her was like, "It'll be okay. Like at least you guys didn't get hurt. Like it's just money, but you still have each other." And like we were there for her. So that's how she overcame it.
One of the toughest points for me was a year ago when I was diagnosed with diabetes, type 1 diabetes. And it was really hard for me at first. Like I was really scared when I found out. But what helped me get through it was that I prayed to God a lot to give me strength to like overcome this. And even though some days I still have my low points where I'm just really down, I always pray to God, and it just really helps to know that he's on my side and looking out for me.
For me, it's my dad, he has Alzheimer's, and it's really hard to go see him when he sometimes doesn't even remember who you are. And it's just really hard to stay there, but I feel I have to stay strong for myself, for my younger sister, and even for him, because my uncle always says that every time we go see him, he just lights up and it gets happier and happier.
You know, it might seem really bad to like you, or you know, that you feel like God's betraying you, but you're not looking at the whole picture of what's really going to happen, you know, outside of your scope of the universe, basically.
Right. Well, let's meet our spotlight guest, David, who will share with us why it's so important to focus on the good,
instead of dwelling on only the negative situations in our lives.
Let's hear him now.
Just in general, when you have any problem, it's important to focus on what's good, what you have, what you haven't lost. No matter what's going wrong, generally you still have something left in you. That's what you have to focus on. You can rebuild a fire from a single spark if you know how to do it and if you try hard enough. So that's sort of like a metaphor for life, I guess. You can't just give up on it. If you give up on that spark for even a second, it's going to go out. But if you blow on it, if you put the tinder there for it to catch, you can start the whole thing over again. You can start the whole fire anew, out of the ashes, like, you know, just from almost nothing. You can do it. And that's the important thing, to always remember that you have something. You never have nothing. You don't ever have to start from scratch in life. Even if you have almost nothing, even if you think you have nothing, you still have to think about it. You have to really believe that you can get through it. And you always have God to help you get through these times too. Sometimes it just takes like a single prayer or a couple of them to help you see it. Because really, as long as you believe in yourself, you can accomplish things. Because God's always behind you to help you get there.
As human beings, we have been created by God with the ability to make choices.
Our future is unknown and unplanned, although paradoxically, God has known us intimately since the beginning and is holding a place for us in his kingdom.
But God does have a plan for our life, calling us to be his disciples.
Free will is our ability to choose the path of our vocation, our discipleship, our humanity, and our destiny.
But along the path of life, there may be stumbling blocks that we cannot foresee or avoid.
Unexpected trials are a part of every life. Although each of us is seemingly in charge, that doesn't mean life always goes according to plan.
Next, David shares with us a time when a friend dealt with a breakup right before her senior prom.
And how staying positive helped her to overcome the distress she felt.
She was getting ready for the prom, you know, right up before her prom, and she was basically dumped by her boyfriend. And I can only imagine how terrible that would be, you know, to get all excited for a prom, you know, be really ready for it, and then to find out that you aren't going to be able to go with who you thought you were going with. So I said I would be glad to go with her and, you know, make sure she still had a good time. And even though I didn't know her and I was a little worried in the beginning, as soon as I met her, I found out that she was a great girl. She was very nice. And I made sure that I would do my best the whole night to try and make sure she had a good time, to make the best out of a bad situation. Like, I know she probably would have rather gone with her original boyfriend, but when bad things happen in life, sometimes you don't have a choice. Sometimes you have to just make do. But it's really important, no matter what happens in life, to just keep a positive attitude. Like, she could have just said, I'm not going to go to the prom at all anymore. But I learned a lot from her. I learned that it really is important to keep trying. She was strong enough to know that she didn't want to give up. And you could see it right in her eyes that she was kind of proud that she had done it. Even if it wasn't exactly how she had hoped to be going to the prom, she was proud that she made it there and that she didn't give up on the way, that she did get to have fun.
Well, it's really great that David's friend was able to, you know, overcome the breakup and still have a good time at the prom. What about you guys? Do you think it's always easy to see the positive side of a bad situation?
For me, it's really hard because if something bad happens, that's what I focus on. I don't see nothing good around it. I just focus on the bad thing. Like, why did this happen? And even though it's really hard, I try to see good things in it just to lift my spirits up a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think it's really easy ever to see positive in a negative situation. Negative things are meant to make us stronger. Whatever doesn't kill us makes us stronger.
Yeah, I would say I'm a pretty optimistic person, so when bad stuff does happen, even though I might not see at that moment like where the good is going to come from it, I remind myself that there will be good at the other end of the tunnel,
So,
and
yeah,
that
you're looking ahead.
yeah,
to the
and I look
future.
ahead to the future, and I especially know that God wouldn't let anything happen that I couldn't overcome.
Yeah, it's kind of like the saying, when God closes a door, he opens a window. Because you may not have to see the good, but you know it's coming. You know God is going to protect you, and you know it's going to be there in the end.
Like we were talking about, once you see the light, you know, it might be a very, very, very long tunnel, but as long as you see the light, you'll still move towards it, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
When bad things happen to us, it can often feel like we are being punished by God in a very personal way.
This micromanager image of God is out of step with the God revealed to us by Jesus Christ.
The God who calls us to turn away from our sin.
One who, like the father in the parable of the prodigal son, rejoices when we return.
The God who desires mercy, not sacrifice.
In the Gospel of John, chapter 9, we read,
As he passed by, he saw a man blind from birth.
His disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?
And Jesus answered him, Neither he nor his parents sinned.
It is so that the works of God might be made visible through him.
Jesus then proceeded to miraculously transform the man's blindness into sight, revealing to all the glory of God.
Let's go back to our spotlight guest, David, where he discusses how his school reached out to a student involved in a serious car accident,
turning an unfortunate situation into an opportunity to do good.
This year we had a fellow student in my school that suffered a very bad car accident, and he was in a coma for a while. And immediately after the accident, the entire school pretty much gathered together to be there for each other and for him. Now, the accident was the day or two before the senior trip. Some of his closest friends walked down the aisle on the airplane as we were flying to Florida with a bag. Everyone could give, a couple dollars, and we'd buy a bunch of souvenirs for him. Throughout the entire trip, everyone's thoughts were on him. There were prayers all the time. Even when we came back from the trip, everyone was still praying for him. And everyone was incredibly happy to see him because he was well enough to attend prom. He also made it to graduation, and everyone was really, really proud of him for making it through it. And it was kind of a good thing to see that even in really tough times, you aren't alone. When there's a really bad situation that affects a lot of people, you have people to share the pain with. It's easier to cope with tough situations when you share them. You shouldn't bottle all the pain inside you. When you see what's happened to him and what he's had to go through, it kind of lets you know that no matter how bad it is from your end, to be grateful for what you have. You don't think about it, but there was a time when he couldn't even stand up. it helps put a perspective to it, that your situation really isn't as bad as you think it is. You may think that what you're going through is the end of the world. Sometimes people go through things that are even worse than you. And even if your life isn't the best at that time, it's your job to help them get through it too. Everyone has to look out for everyone. You can't go through life alone.
You know, he really is right, because we're put on this world with other people. I mean, we can't just be secluded and stay away from everyone, you know.
You need people together, you know, it helps
right.
situations.
And people help you out when you're in trouble, so I mean, it's just returning the favor. So, how have you guys been able to help someone get through a crisis?
I know my friend, her dad recently lost his job, and her family went through like a financial struggle. And we kind of just did like a lot of small things. Like it was around Christmas, so instead of like everybody buying gifts for each friend, we had like a grab bag or something, so she wouldn't have to buy something for everybody. She only had to buy something for one person. We just stuck by her, and her dad did end up getting another job, and everything worked out. And I think it made her a lot stronger as a person, and it made us stronger friends too.
My great-grandmother had a stroke, and it left her paralyzed on her left side. So like she doesn't really recognize us, but we still go to visit her, you know, to try and help her through this hard time.
Yeah, that's similar with my grandfather. He had a stroke and it got him blind, and that was like a few weeks before he came to see us, because he lives in Nigeria, so that's a few weeks before he came to America, and he never saw us, and he doesn't know how we look like, so it's hard for him because he wanted to meet us, like, because my mom moved from there too, and like she hasn't seen her family, so they came over here. He wanted to meet us. He doesn't know how we look like. He forgets everything, and like we come together all the time. We pray, like we pray in a little group every night just for that. It helps him a little bit because he has so much faith in God.
One of my sister's friends was going through a really tough time. I never met this kid, never knew him, never even heard about him, and my sister was like, "Can you please talk to him? Can you do something?" And it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm ready to go to bed. I had school the next day. But I go on the computer and I start talking to the kid. And I made every reason why not to do what he was going to do. I told him to go to the church. I told him to talk to someone, anyone. And after like 2 hours, I was finally able to convince him. And I go to my sister. I'm like, "Listen, it'll all be okay. Just make sure you watch out for him." And in the end, he didn't do anything. And he eventually got better.
I agree with Phil, because sometimes you just need to talk to somebody, because a couple of years ago, my friend's mother passed, and it was a sudden thing, and they just were completely distraught. So they didn't know what to do. I'm kind of like the joke guy. I just went all serious, and I just sat down and talked to them for a good 2-3 hours, and it really helped them get through it, and it really turned the situation into an upside.
Well, in times of tragedy, we may have asked ourselves, why would a loving God allow bad things to happen to good people?
It's a universal issue with individual religious solutions.
Rabbi Harold Kushner, author of the best-selling book, When Bad Things Happen to Good People, writes,
"The painful things that happen to us are not punishments for our misbehavior, nor are they part of some grand design on God's part.
Because the tragedy is not God's will, we need not feel hurt or betrayed by God when tragedy strikes.
We can turn to Him for help in overcoming it.
We need to get over the questions that focus on the past and on the pain. Why did this happen to me?
And ask instead the question which opens the doors to the future. Now that this has happened, what shall I do about it?
So how do you keep perspective when bad things happen?
And can prayer help?
That's what we asked the teens on the street.
Let's check it out.
Good things happen to bad people and bad things happen to good people, so you just gotta take it as it comes.
I know that like life isn't always fair, so I just kind of try to get over it.
Keep my head up and think that it will work out in the end, because there's a reason why this is happening.
I guess sometimes you just gotta believe in something.
For me, happens to be God. He's everything in my life, but just believing that life is more than this.
You gotta keep your faith in times of bad.
Faith in general just makes me accept things, you know? Like, you just gotta understand that it's part of life.
You know, someone's always there for you to help you through bad times.
God tells you to be okay.
God's always there for you, you know.
Look to God for a lot of things I can't explain. I always pray when things go bad.
I prayed and then it made me feel better.
It really makes you feel like somebody's listening, even though, you know, sometimes your friends don't want to listen, or they make jokes, or, you know, not everybody's going to give you that level of sympathy or anything that you need at that time.
I don't really think prayer really has anything to do with it. It's really what you make it happen.
Well, prayer changed things from what I believe. So if you pray, then it's going to be okay.
I guess it could help people find faith when they're going through troubles.
Some wild things have happened after I prayed.
Keeps you calm, and like if you're like having a freak out moment, it gives you time to mellow down.
I went to Catholic school, so they told us, whenever bad things happen, you just gotta turn to God. It usually works.
Well, prayer helps because you can just talk to God and just like he calms you down.
They said that if you pray, God will help you.
God is watching over me.
Looking to God is always a good thing.
He's there for us.
Growing up in church and everything, I've always been told that God answers your prayers no matter who you are. If you have no one else to call on, if any person, you should call on God.
And I believe that Jesus will lead me the way it's supposed to go.
Well, what do you guys think? How has your faith in God helped you to cope with tragedy?
I just always pray for strength, and God, He's just so strong, and He can help you get through everything.
Like Jess, I just ask God to give me a hand to help pick me up sometimes when I'm having like a down day.
He's kind of a role model because, like you were saying, he's really strong, he's powerful. So you gotta kind of like look to him, and he'll show you the way, he'll guide you.
And God isn't the bad guy. God is love. He didn't create humanity to watch it suffer.
Although suffering and evil exist in the world, it does not dismiss or negate God's existence, love, plan, or omnipotence.
Fairness, balance, and perfect happiness are not what we should expect from this life.
We should expect to participate in the journey of life. We are called to welcome and trust God.
Let's go back to our spotlight guest, David, where he'll discuss how faith can help us in times of difficulty,
and how just talking with God in prayer can help you to see through the darkness.
With faith, you always know that things will get better. You have to believe that things aren't just going to continually go down in a downward spiral and that eventually something good will happen. So it's a way to sort of get through things. You have to keep it in your mind that someday it will be brighter. That it may be dark now, it may be bad now, that it's always darkest before the day. So it really will get better. You may have to work for it to get better. It may not be the way you always saw it, but you can push through it. And that's what you have to learn from a bad situation, and faith gets you through that. Prayer is kind of like an outlet. You can let yourself go when you're in prayer. You don't have to worry about pleasing anyone with what you say or what you think. You can just say it, get it off your mind. When you pray, it's like a conversation between you and God. And no matter what you say or what you think, God is always there for you. He's not going to leave you because what you said was not the exact phrasing that He wanted. And just knowing that you always have God to talk to when you have a problem, that's pretty comforting too. Because no matter where you are, no matter what's going on in your life, you can always just take a minute out and pray about it.
Finally, we asked the teens on the street what advice they would give someone who is dealing with a hardship.
Let's check it out.
Talk to someone for advice.
Probably just talk to them, help them with their problems.
Pretty much ask them for advice on what they should do, or call their parents, ask them.
If you try to get out the easy way, it always makes things worse, so just stay positive and take it one step at a time.
Just keep telling yourself that it's gonna be okay. Even though it might seem horrible, you still gotta look up and look for the good times that had or that will have.
Look at the bigger picture. Relax, and life tends to unroll how it shows.
You can always look at the brighter side of it.
You just gotta fall back and reflect on what's going on and think about the best thing you can do for your situation.
Look to the future. Just don't think about what's happening now. Think of what could happen in the future.
Just chill, don't freak out, because then it'll make it worse if you panic.
The best way to cope with it is just keep your cool.
You always have better days. Sometimes you have bad ones. Just kind of keep your head up.
Count to 10 and let it pass your head. You can't beat yourself up and set unrealistic expectations, and you just have to live,
Look to the positive side of every situation and know that things could always get better and they could be worse.
Find some friends to help you get through it.
Have faith and hope and have an idea in their mind that things will get better.
Realize that we're not in control of things, and just to have faith and just keep positive.
Just pray about it. God will handle it.
A saying that we've all probably heard, that when life hands you lemons, make lemonade. Because in every bad situation, you have to try to see the good that will come out of it.
Like if you're really just completely lost about something, take a quick nap. Just rest for a little bit, and when you wake up, you'll probably be able to think clearer, and you'll figure out what you're able to do to help yourself and others.
And a quote that is similar to Allison's from Dark Knight is, the night's darkest is before it's dawn, which means you got to always look toward to the light.
Yeah, and don't keep it all bottled up inside. You should have a good friend or a group of people that you go to for advice to help you.
My advice would be, just to keep a positive attitude in whatever you're going through.
And I think a really good thing to do is like find an outlet. Like for me, I love to sing, so like when I'm upset, singing will make me happy, and when I'm angry, like exercise will make me feel better.
The suffering, death, and resurrection of Jesus has shown us that all suffering has the potential to be redemptive.
When bad things happen, we must make the choice.
We can allow bitterness and despair to lead us away from God. We can live in anger and blame God.
Or we can follow the example of Jesus.
We can cling to the promises that God is always with us.
We can trust that the same God who raised Jesus from the dead will also transform our experiences.
This does not mean that those who love God will never experience tragedy, suffering, or death.
But for those who trust God, good can come forth from bad experiences.
Love can overcome fear, and new life can spring forth from death.
How does your relationship with God help you keep perspective when bad things happen?
We'd like to know. Contact us through our website.
The address is www.realfaithtv.com.
Or you can call us at 609-406-7402.
And we'll leave you today with this passage from Proverbs chapter 3 to reflect on when bad things happen in your life.
Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding.
In all your ways, acknowledge Him, and He will make your paths straight.
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time on
Realfaith TV.
God bless.